In short, may I directly and indirectly offer benefit and happiness to all my mothers. May I secretly take upon all their pain and sufferings. In short, may I directly and indirectly offer benefit and happiness to all my mothers. May I secretly take on all their pain and sufferings. What is that saying? When your mother, when your beautiful, wonderful, kind, and very compassionate mother conceived you, in general terms, it was out of great love. And the moment they found out that you were in their bodies, they loved you. They loved you from that moment on. The very thought of you being in their body created happiness. The minute you kicked, the minute you created discomfort for them, although they were uncomfortable, they were happy. They protected you in their womb. They bore the burden of a heavy being in their body for months upon months. They cared for you by not taking extremely cold foods, hot foods. They cared for you in being sitting down gently, rising gently, in so many ways that you, as a little unborn child, in their bodies will not feel physical discomfort. And then when it was time for you to be born, and then before that, how much suffering do you create for your mother in a sense of nausea, morning sickness, pains, uncomfortable, etc., etc. And then when you finally issue forth from your beautiful, kind, wonderful mothers, how much pain did you cause them? How much stretching of their bodies unnaturally did you cause them? How much blood did they lose? How much sweat? How much screaming? How many hours of intense pain? And even with that pain, they still were happy. And some children cause death to their mothers. And yet, when the mother is dying, she wants to make sure that her child is all right and well, even with her last dying breath. And the minute the child, that being that has caused her so much pain and discomfort for months upon months upon months upon months, was issued forth, instead of slapping and kicking and beating and abusing up that little evil fiend that caused her so much trouble and pain, she grabbed the child and hugged the child in her fatigue to her breast and loved the child. How kind is the mother? And when the mother, from the moment you issue forth, voluntarily surrenders her freedom. She has no freedom to sleep. She has no freedom to eat. She has no freedom to beautify herself. She has no freedom to go out. She is at every whim and noise and every fuss of that little child. And that little child has become the center of her world. And all her energies are focused on that child. From waking 24 hours, she gets lines under her eyes because of that child. She loses her figure because of that child. She suffers incredible pain. She can even become unhealthy because of that child. And then when that child comes out, she loses her complete freedom. She loses everything that she enjoys as a young, fresh girl. And then she will work, she will fight, she will sacrifice her time, her energy, and her effort for that child. She will even give up her life for that child, if necessary, without a blink of an eye. Without a blink of an eye. And when that child is sick, she is worried to no end. When the child is happy, she is more happier for the child. She is more happy than the child itself. When the child grows up, when the child is successful, when the child is doing good, the mother sincerely, wholeheartedly, from the heart, rejoices for the child. And when the child falls down, or when the child is not successful, the mother suffers incredibly. And in some cases goes insane because out of love and great, deep compassion for that child. How kind is that mother? The very flesh on our that we use to do Dharma practice, the very flesh that we have comes from our mother. The very flesh that we have, the very bones and blood that we have comes from our mother. In that respect, women are much more greater than men. Incredible. Their bodies are more frail, more smaller, more delicate, more weaker, yet they can produce a greater result. And in Tantra, we should respect women, and we should see women as our equal, if not better. That's why we have Buddhas like Tara and Vajrayogini and Bended Humble, because it shows you there's no state of difference between a male or a female. And the kindness of the mother in normal cases is you cannot repay it back. And yet the mother does not have Dharma, or not able to practice the Dharma, and is in ignorance and suffers, and will have to die and take rebirth, and maybe even take rebirth in hell. This kind mother that has done so much for you might have to take rebirth in hell in one of the lower realms. Yes, she may have done things that hurt you. Maybe she has said things that hurt you. Maybe she doesn't understand you. Maybe you don't have a wonderful relationship with her. But that doesn't deny the fact that everything you have comes from her. It comes from her. That doesn't deny the fact. So how kind is a mother? Whatever we do, we can never repay the kindness of a mother. Ever. We can give her $50 million. We can still not repay the kindness of that mother to us. And all the intensity of her love and her patience and her energy toward us and her effort. We can never repay it back. Ever. Ever. So if she says unkind things to us because of her own delusions from previous lives, we should forgive her. We should in fact see it as pleasure and beautiful. We should serve her. We should take care of her. We should watch her in her old age, and we should be at her beck and call, and we should treat her as if we treat our own guru. And every moment that we have with our mother is a very precious moment, and we should not let it slip by. And if due to our bad karma, our mothers have passed away, we should never forget their kindness and practice the Dharma for them and dedicate it to them. So such a kind being that has been so wonderful to you and has suffered so much pain and difficulty for you, can we be so unfilial not to repay their kindness back and not to treat them as if they are the queen? Like that, in your previous lives, you've had a mother. In the life before that, you've had a mother. And in some situations with respect to the mothers of this life, some mothers from previous lives maybe even sacrificed their lives and did more for you than the mother of this life. We just cannot remember at this time. So in every single life, thousands upon thousands and millions of lifetimes, we've had a mother that's treated us something like a mother of this life. Therefore, all mother sentient beings, we say in Buddhism, Mahayana Buddhism, all mother sentient beings or all mothers. It doesn't mean that these 4 monks are my mothers. It doesn't mean Mr. Lam is my mother. And how come my mother is prettier than me? It doesn't mean that everybody is my mother. It means that at one time or another, every single sentient being has been your mother and has treated you in such a way. And don't you think you should repay that kindness back? Whether it was done in this life or a previous life it was done to you. You got that benefit. That's why you're here today. Don't you think you should repay their kindness back? Therefore, in Mahayana Buddhism, the first step to developing bodhicitta is the recognition that all sentient beings has been your mother. On that logical basis. And therefore, all mother sentient beings, some of them are in hell, some of them are in the spirit realms, some of them are animals, some of them are in desperate human situations, some of them are all around you in the God realms, taking rebirth, suffering again and again in samsara. How can you, an unfilial child, let your mothers suffer? Recognizing that is the first step toward achieving bodhicitta. So in the future, when you hear all mother sentient beings, that's what it means. In short, may I directly and indirectly, whatever I can do to directly help others and indirectly help my mothers. May I offer all the benefit to them and take their sufferings openly and secretly and endure sufferings for my mothers who have been so kind to me. May I secretly take upon all mother sentient beings' sufferings and pain. We should pray for that quality. We should want that quality, yearn for it, make offerings for it, meditate on it, meditate for it, recite mantras for it, do retreats for it, go to our gurus for it, receive teachings for it. We should make donations and do whatever beautiful charity works all of you are doing for that purpose and that purpose alone. To repay the kindness of mother sentient beings. How to repay them? Not simply just to give them food, clothing, shelter, and medicine, but to give them the complete method to be free from samsara. And the only way you can do that is to become an enlightened being for them. So for the sake of all mother sentient beings, I will listen to the Dharma. So that I will learn the methods and that I can practice and I can become an enlightened being to repay their kindness. For the sake of all mother sentient beings, I will make offerings. For the sake of all mother sentient beings, I will support the beautiful Dharma centers. And the merit that I receive, I may become a Buddha to benefit my mothers, plural. I will practice patience for my mothers. I will meditate and do mantras for my mothers. So when all your motivation is that you will do Dharma practice, help Dharma centers, assist others, etc., that you can repay the kindness of others, you will not be disappointed easily when you meet harsh people. You will not be disappointed easily if you do not get results quickly. You will not be disappointed easily if something goes wrong, but you will be able to endure it. We can definitely endure a lot of pain and problems for our mother today, remembering their kindness. So what's the difference between a mother of this life and previous lives? And the beings around you will have a very strong chance that they will be your mothers again. Because like H2O cells, water cells, evaporation, cumulus clouds, precipitation, hail, snow, rain, etc., and then collection of a water body and again evaporation, it is the same H2O cells in a cycle. There's not one new H2O cell in this world. Like that, there's not one new sentient being in this world. It is the same ones that you will be meeting again and again and again. So doesn't it behoove you to remember their kindness of the past, of the present, and the kindness that they will bestow upon you in the future? And is that the way you react back to a kindness that they have shown you before? And even a direct kindness they're showing you now to allow you to practice the Dharma. So, every action we do, the motive should be for all mother sentient beings. And when you do that, you are practicing the Dharma and you are on the way to Buddhahood. And every single Buddha acts out of that compassion, out of that thought. Spontaneously, effortlessly, constantly. Because they have conditioned and trained and for that, and they have removed the causes that prevent that. So we should morning time wake up and think, how can I benefit mother sentient beings? Before we go to sleep, how have I benefited others? And every single day, to put that into our hearts stronger and stronger, I will do everything for the sake of other sentient beings. I will be able to endure for others. You will see your mental strength grow. You will see your perseverance grow. You will see your enthusiasm grow. You will see you become stable and steady and you start to change. And that's what we want. So the motive for anything we do in Dharma should not be the 8 worldly concerns. Yes, it's that crazy monk talking about the 8 worldly concerns. That's what he talks about all the time, and he's going to make a discount. But we should work and do actions not for the center, not for our gurus, not for our friends, not to look good, not for reputation, not for karma for ourselves. Karma, not merits. We should do it for the sake of all sentient beings. I will help the Dharma Center for the sake of all sentient beings. I will listen to the Dharma for the sake of all sentient beings. I will practice the Dharma for the sake of all sentient beings. I will meditate, do mantras, do retreats, go to holy places. I will work and endure pain, and I will put up and show patience to people that hurt me and damage me, and situations that bother me, for the sake of all mother sentient beings. Why? In short, because you wish to become a Buddha to repay their kindness, to give him the ultimate way out, to come out of suffering. And the only way is to develop those qualities. And the only way to develop those qualities is to come across the situation that help you develop those qualities. So are not sentient beings so precious? The Buddhas say you should respect sentient beings 50% and respect the Buddha's 50%. The respect you accord to sentient beings and to the Buddha is equal. Because without the Buddhas, you cannot become enlightened. Without sentient beings, you cannot become enlightened. So if you have a Buddha teaching you compassion all the time and you don't have nowhere to practice, you can't become enlightened. If you don't have a Buddha to practice, to teach you compassion, and there's so many people around you to act out compassion, you don't know how to act out the compassion. So 50-50, it says clearly. You are 50% dependent on the Buddhas for enlightenment, for their teachings, for their action, for their inspirations, for their blessings, etc., etc., as a merit field. And you are 50% dependent on other sentient beings, and especially the ones that you revile, that you do not like. So for the sake of all mother sentient beings, if we practice the Dharma, we do any Dharma action, we will not become disappointed easily. We will not become upset easily. We will not give up easily. We will in fact practice harder and harder and more, and therefore by time we are able to endure more, and mentally we become stronger and better and more beneficial. That will be the result of this practice.